Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very, very special episode of How Come. I know I say that often, but this one is the Sum Up Cum Down, and that is just a stupid phrase that I invented for essentially a mid-season review of everything that we have done this season, a chronicle, if you will, of my orgasm journey thus far. Some of you already have listened to all the episodes. Some of you don't have time. Some of you have never listened to any episodes, and you're just like, Remy, give me the good stuff. I want to give you the good stuff, so I'm going to do it in two parts. This is part one of the Sum Up Cum Down, and it's episodes 1 through 6. I'm going to tell you what the guests gave me as their assignments, how those assignments went for me. Obviously, if you want to listen to those assignments more in depth, go back and listen to the episodes, especially if you're not coming, because I don't know if you guys know this, but it worked. Like, how come is now how came. So we have to change the format a little bit because yeah, it's a different show. So let's get started. Yeah, this is part one of the Sum Up Cum Down. Sum Up Cum Down. That was a bunch of me in different voices. Hello, everyone. It is Saturday at midnight in Atlantic City, and I have just put together the most beautiful array of greatest hits, I think, from episodes 1 through 6. This is that. We're going to start with episode 1. My guests were my sister and co-producer, Charlotte Kassimir. She was amazing, and she did a ton of statistic research for us, which was great because I was feeling very alone and sad and like pathetic. And it's really interesting for me to like go back and listen to how little I knew and how terrified I was of coming. But Charlotte, yeah, she did some statistic research, and this is what she found.
This kind of stuff that is so understudied and underreported and misunderstood. But when it comes to you being like, I feel so alone.
According to Charlotte's research,
she's not alone. It's pretty fucking normal.
Is it that normal?
Yeah. You want some stats?
I would love some stats.
Throw them at you?
Yeah.
So I think the main one that like people don't really know is that they estimated that women who can orgasm from intercourse alone, intercourse being like just a dick, okay, no hands, no nothing else. Guess, from just a dick.
I would say, going by
like it seems like
what
everyone.
I see in the movies, like 95%.
Right? Yeah. No, it's 8.
No.
8%.
Stop.
Yeah. Okay. And then other statistics put it around for women who never orgasm from just intercourse, 70 to 90%.
Isn't that insane? Also, how terrified do I sound? I sound like a completely different person. Post-orgasm and pre-orgasm, Remy, they're just different ladies.
If you're not comfortable enough to say, move your hand this way or go faster or do this, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Which is like, if you're a genuinely shy person or generally shy in normal life,
yeah,
how are you not supposed to be shy in the bedroom?
Oh my gosh, it's so hard.
Yeah.
But one thing that like does allude to that is that 75% of women do come if they're lesbians because they're, I mean, for so many reasons. It's like, you know what you like, they know what you like. It's more comfortable. So I guess we can all just be gay, lesbians, and then it'll happen.
Okay. I feel like that makes sense because there's like no divide. You both have the same parts. Except I guess I feel like if I was a lesbian, I'd be competitive. I'd be like, whose tits are bigger? I also, obviously, we had another guest. Wendi Starling was our main guest that week, and she is essentially a professional comer. That's what she said. She has been a sugar baby, and she sold her panties on the internet. But she, I mean, coming-wise, she just gushes. She's talking about squirting and how she can fucking multiple orgasm like 15 times. I was like freaking out. I started to get I was like really scared. Okay, here's another clip that I really liked.
So orgasms happen in your brain. Like obviously there's physical stimulation, but that's
it's
how
definitely a mental thing.
1,000,000%.
I'm so scared.
It's a little
scares
scary.
me. I don't know what's gonna happen. Like,
you gotta let it go. It's
what
a
if I
control
shit?
issue.
What if I make a really weird noise that's like, oh yeah, like. Ooh, what if my face? Like, I've seen boys' faces; they don't look good.
No.
Oh, so you get to the point, and then so you can have one. You just have
and
to
then I'm like, no.
You just have to chill the fuck out.
Right. Well, I'm quite neurotic.
Well, the funny thing is, actually, I was just reading about this yesterday when you're like, I feel like I'm gonna pee.
Yeah.
That's like often when girls come.
When
like
they
when
pee?
they know it feels like you're
Yeah,
gonna pee.
that's the feeling.
I
Yeah.
know. No, I know.
But better once
So
you
it's-
do and it's not pee.
I know. I'm so scared though. So that was good. I mean, I already knew that was the, like, oh, I'm almost there. But yeah, there was still this mental block of just being like terrified. I don't know. And I think we're always all thinking about like, oh, maybe I'm being slutty or whatever, like, because girls aren't supposed to be slutty or like sex or whatever. And like being loose or I don't know. This is something that Wendi said that actually really qualmed my fears. Just to listen.
Especially if you're coming a lot. The more you fuck, a lot of times your pussy actually gets tighter, so you're not worn out. It's the opposite. Like you'll be, when you like
Interesting.
fuck, when
That's
you fuck
a good
all
thing,
night,
girls.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Girls,
If you get one takeaway from this app.
fuck more because your pussy will
That's
be
I
tighter.
swear to God, because I did. This was I always remember this. I was dating this guy, and then he was out of town, and then I hooked up with somebody else, and this other guy had a way bigger dick, and we were fucking like all week, and it was amazing. So this guy comes back, and he's like, "Hey," and I like the day before had been fucking this dude with like a way bigger dick, and I'm like, huh, but I was coming so much, and then we fucked, and I swear to God, he was
knew?
like, no, it was the opposite. We're like making out, and then we started. He's like, oh, no one's. He's like, oh God, you're tight.
So
He's like, no one's
funny.
been in here for a while. And I was thinking like, oh yeah. And then I'm like, oh, because
Fooled another one.
yeah. Good work, gal. It's like, I high five. But yeah,
You
so
tricky clit.
yeah. Oh, tricky clit. That's a great album.
She's
name.
like a little 1920s lady.
I know.
Hi, I'm tricky clit.
But it's not true. The more you fuck it, your pussy doesn't stretch out. It's not like a neck it's not a neck hole in a sweater.
yeah.
And especially if you're coming and you're flexing, because when you
That's
come,
like Kegels.
Yes.
Same shit.
yeah.
How many of you are doing Kegels right now? Every single woman, every time you say it. I know we've said it before, but it's just, yeah, we're all pulsating right now. But isn't that cool? Oh, yeah, everyone get out there and get some dick. Or just stop worrying so much about, like, being used and tattered and shit. I really was, like, kind of worried about that. But, yeah, no, I'm not. How dope. So then Wendi, she gave me her assignment, and basically it was to lightly caress myself over my cotton panties in the dark for 20 minutes, no stimulation, just trying to think of sexy thoughts or whatever. It didn't work out. I tell this to Lindsey, Metselaar, my friend who has her own podcast called We Met at Acme. She came on episode 2 to talk about how that assignment went. I cried. It fucking sucked. I couldn't get out of my head. I hated it. Just because I thought I was like still broken. I just thought it was impossible. So I guess it was just like really emotional. But so I had Lindsey on, and she's a social media expert. So this was a little clip that I loved just because I asked her for some dating tips because We Met at Acme has a lot of dating intel. Here we go. Have you ever posted for a guy?
I
Like
wouldn't say
hoping that he
posted
would-
for a guy, but I've definitely posted like being like nudging their attention,
Yeah. Not being, well,
being
you're
like,
not gonna
I
be like,
know that they're
hey,
gonna text
Daniel,
me.
text me.
No, yeah,
as
of
your
course. Like I
caption.
know.
Like, you have to be subtle.
That would be
You have to be like,
epic.
oh,
Honestly,
like
I would
casually.
die if a
Like,
girl did that, like I would have so much respect.
you guys, I dare one of you to do that for your crush. I think it still would be like the most hilarious thing in the entire world. And if you do it, will you screenshot it to me? I don't know. We'll go to dinner or Blaze, and then we can like hang out and talk about it. I'll think you're so brave and awesome. Oh, also, this was a really great thing Lindsey and I were talking about because I had always been like really in my head about like, what's the guy thinking of my body? And especially like, is this too much hair? And like, blah, blah, blah. Here are Lindsey's thoughts about that.
Just came from a wax. Sorry for the TMI.
Yeah.
But like I was literally thinking about this because the guy that I'm seeing, like I had just come home from Mexico and I saw him that night, and it's obvious that I don't have time to do any maintenance.
Yeah.
And so I was like, should I tell him or should I just like wing it?
Yeah.
And I kind of just like winged it. I didn't say anything. Like I was thinking about being like, just so you know, like obviously I haven't gotten a wax, but like that's already obvious.
Right.
Like he's coming over post-flight.
Yeah.
Like unless there was a woman in the bathroom on the flight that does waxing, like
mile high.
it's a no. Or like a laser woman at like the airport. And
They have those. They've added it to the
I
spas.
believe it.
Those little in-air
I believe
spas.
it, but So I didn't say anything, and then it was totally fine.
I just always think about like, because on episode 1, somebody wrote into me and he was like, hey, by the way, some guys don't like to eat pussy because if there's hair there, like it's smellier and it's like sweaty or whatever. Like,
what?
Right, and that gets me in my head.
He's messing with the wrong pussies. First of all, that's unfortunate for him, and I'm sad for him. But second of all,
but he said he likes
that's
it.
just as likely as us like getting a hair in our mouth, blowing a dude. What's the difference?
Because most guys don't have hair on their shafts. Is the thing. Have you ever
you're
encountered
right.
a hairy shaft?
You're right. I think that would be really weird, but we don't have
I've
hair on our
encountered
clits.
that's true. Yeah,
So
pull it back.
get
you
in
little
there.
monsters.
Fucking losers.
No, now that I'm thinking about it, like it's like you should be number one attractive to you. So whatever that means for you, the other person that you're going to be hooking up with is eventually going to have to be okay with it. Right?
Agreed.
Isn't that an empowering thought? That like changed my entire life. Then I was like, oh, I get it. I don't find myself sexy sometimes. And that's why I'm in my head. Like, confidence is everything. And people say that and you don't really understand it. But yeah, it's huge. I don't know. That really changed my mind about things. I really like that point. Our guest that day was Napoleon Emill, who won March Madness at Caroline's. He's like the funniest person in the entire world. And I asked him to do this podcast like a year ago when I was still thinking about it because he has the best first time coming story. This is just a little snippet of it, but yeah, you guys are going to love it.
It was my first time.
But your first time coming and your first time having sex were at the same time.
Yeah, at the same time. Well, I was pretty young. So
Yeah.
I didn't know how to jerk off at the time. I didn't have any like formal training with it. So like my first time I was
How old were you again?
It was a summer. I can't remember if it was 11 turning 12. I know I was like at least 12 or 12 about to turn 13. It wasn't 11, but it was super young.
And you'd never like even tried to jack off or anything like by yourself?
No, not at that age. I didn't. For some reason, at that age, jacking off for some reason was like known as a gay thing to do, which was like a negative thing.
Wait, really?
Dudes were like, yo, you jack off? Bro, you gay.
Why?
Fucking hilarious.
That's hilarious. I think that's
was
the
like-
weirdest thing. Was it because they were like all jacking off together or something?
Oh,
No, it's just, I don't know. It's just any type of like letting people in, I guess.
Or talking about it is
Openly
gay.
talking about it,
Yeah.
I guess, is gay or sharing it, but dudes would like bait you into the question. They were like, yo, you ever beat your meat? You'd be like, yeah, sure. They'd be like, oh, you
Oh,
gay.
you're gay. Wait, that is the funniest thing I've ever heard.
It's
Like,
the
it's like
funniest.
tricking you into admitting that, like, you're doing a perfectly, like, fun, awesome.
It's
Yeah.
like very low on the sex spectrum.
Very low.
Very low.
Yeah, that's what I'm learning. Apparently, everybody does this.
Masturbate?
Yeah.
Yeah, some people.
You guys have to listen to that entire. That's episode 2. You'll just die. But yeah, isn't that crazy? Apparently, like guys were shamed, not everywhere, but guys were shamed into thinking that jacking off was gay. So girls were thinking we're gross. Guys are thinking they're gay. Like episode 2 was really fun because we talk a lot about like what guys like, what girls like, what we all think that nobody likes about the both of us. And we kind of realized that we're all pretty similar, with some little differences. Episode 3 was really bomb. My friend Alex Pischera, who does the sound on this podcast, shout out to Alex. He's also a stand-up comedian. He told me his first time coming stories and enlightened me on a thing that I didn't know about male orgasms to begin with. So take a listen to this one. Okay, wait, rewind.
You could come without.
Orgasmed, but you didn't make any
Jizz.
fluid?
And jizz, yeah. Like I was too young to
What
produce
the
it.
fuck
I
does
was
that mean?
I was prepubescent. I was like,
Okay, but then what is the orgasm itself?
it is the feeling. It's like it's like a culmination of like everything that's building up inside you, and it's like
A man can have an orgasm without coming?
100%.
What the fuck?
But I don't do that. Like I'm not saying
You're
I
not
do
doing that
now.
regularly.
No, I've never done that
Okay,
as
but-
an adult.
so
Really,
do
well,
you-
maybe once.
Do you
before.
have problems coming ever in the bedroom, like with another person?
When we're talking,
If we're taking Adderall out of the picture.
in general, no. But I've never come from like a blowjob. For
Ever?
instance, yeah, I would say that's something
Why?
that me and
Wait.
a lot of guys share.
Ladies, tune in. What the fuck is going on? So, first of all, why are we down there if you're not going to do it?
Well, it's still fun.
Okay.
No, please.
Okay.
Don't stop. Oh, I shouldn't have said that.
No, don't
I'm
stop.
never getting any blowjobs ever again. But for blowjobs, yeah, no. I think once ever, maybe, and we're talking about like.
Why though? It's like, are you in your head or like? Cause
I don't think it's me being like, oh, I need to come, but I do think I do have like since I haven't come from it, I've definitely built up like I'm not gonna come from
Right.
the blowjob.
I think
So,
that's how I
whatever.
feel with everything.
That's what I was about to
is
say.
like even when I'm masturbating, even when I'm having sex,
It's not gonna happen.
all that's on my
'cause
brain is it going to happen this time? And now what's
But
on my brain is it going to happen this time? And do I have to end this podcast?
That's funny. But
I won't. Even if I do
the-
it this week, we're going to keep
It's
going.
craziness.
Yeah.
Crazy assignments.
Just
The
crazy
assignments are going to
assignments.
ramp up, I would say, right?
Oh, I hope
Because like
so.
watching porn is pretty.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that Lindsey and Napoleon told me that I had to watch porn because I never really had done it for like sexual pleasure, which they were like, that's strange. I was just much more into movies. So yeah, their assignment for week 3 was watch porn, and I discussed that all with Alec, different the plethora of types of porn that I watched, from like trans shit to like cream pie and I don't know, all this lesbian stuff. I watched a lot of stuff. But yeah, you can hear about all the types of porn that I watched on episode 3. I talk about it with Alex quite in depth. I thought that was really interesting about Alex not being able to come during blowjobs, because then it's kind of made me feel like I was less weird just for not being able to like mentally focus, because I was like, oh, I must have some like psychological problems. But then hearing that a guy also has those issues, when guys are supposed to be the ones who are so sexual and stuff, it was like, oh, that's kind of a load off, because yeah, that makes sense. It is a mental thing and physical, but mental. And I told Alex, one of my friends watches fat people on treadmills. That's what she does to get off. And he was like, oh, do you think she's sexually attracted to that? And then it was just like, do you have to be sexually attracted to the porn that you're watching, or do you just have to watch something that like gets you so out of your head that you can just like physically enjoy? That's an interesting question. I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but that's something that we talked about for a bit. Our guest that week was Alia Janine. She is my friend, comic as well, and a former porn star. So we talk about like her career in porn, but we also talk about her first time coming, obviously, because we talk about that for all the episodes. And I know I'm not including all the stories in this one, but you can go back and listen to. Everybody has their first time coming story. But Alia basically discussed the importance of the clit, which we touched on earlier, but I think you'll really enjoy this clip. I thought it was very interesting.
Like the way that like I figured it out is that because it moves and stuff like that, so either you're a righty or a lefty sometimes, or maybe right
Wait,
on top.
it moves?
Yeah, like you like when it's like hard. Basically, when your clit is hard, yeah, it kind of like, and you like it either more
I
on
have
the
to start thinking of my clit as a little penis, is what you're saying.
It kind of is. It's almost like if you're a righty or a lefty. Sometimes you may like it rubbed more on the right side of it.
Oh, that makes sense.
Or on the left side of it, because sometimes like direct stimulation
It's too much.
Yeah, it is
Direct
too
stimulation.
Much.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
sorry.
Is too much.
Yeah.
And so, because you have the hood, and so you could rub the outside of the hood on like the right or the left side, or maybe even underneath, or like right on top sometimes as well. Like you just have to figure out which side it is. Like if you're right-handed, try the right side.
Yep. So that was pretty interesting to me. I never knew that it moved. That's like a little boner. It's literally a little boner. Who knew? So then we're talking about how Leah got into porn, and specifically BDSM stuff, which I was like very curious about. And this is what she had to say about it.
Like I've never had a baby, and there's only been like a couple of fists in there. So like, and it was Angelina Valentine, and she's got the tiniest little hands.
Oh.
So.
Should I check her out?
She's kind of violent.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what she's filming? Like that's what she's into?
Well, I mean, we shot the scene that we shot. She
Were
was
you
a dom.
scared? Like, is BDSM stuff scary for you?
No.
or-
Well, because I work for kink.com, which is known as like the huge like website
I've
for
heard
like
of it.
all
I've heard of
things, yeah, all things BDSM and kink basically. And I wanted to try it. I'm like, I was in porn and I was able to explore like different things that like I wasn't going to be judged for, and like it was in a safe environment with like professionals and not like some weird people off of Craigslist.
Because like you're on a set at the end of the day.
and everyone's and the joke about kink is that like they're in this dungeon and just like, and it's gnarly and it looks like it should be very scary.
Yeah.
But in the background they're like, oh, do you have enough lube? Do you need sandwiches? Like just like the sweetest people. You know, and well, because it is a mental thing too. So like after every scene, like we do like before interviews and after interviews, and like, and sometimes they film them and sometimes you don't, but it's like a decompression kind of thing.
It's kind of like having a therapist on set.
Yeah,
to make
basically.
sure that you're okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool, especially because like you don't think about how much time on set they spend just like chilling and doing normal stuff. So I don't know. People always think about porn stars fucking nonstop, and it's like, no, it's a film set. No, they're doing other stuff. So yeah, naturally after the clit conversation, Alia was like, go look at your clit in the mirror and like try and manipulate it and stuff. I had Emily Wilson from babe.net and my friend Talya, who is a nurse, on the next episode to talk about how my clit looking adventures went. Not well. It didn't really work out, but one of the funny things that happened was this little ditty from Emily Wilson.
Yeah, I only realized like a year ago that I have what's called a Homer Simpson vagina.
What is that?
Which is my vagina when standing looks like Homer Simpson's mouth sideways.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wait, that's also the Nicki Minaj vagina.
It's like an innie.
Yep.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that was even a thing until my best friend and I we're comparing our vaginas, and we have the opposite looking vaginas. Like everything of hers is out and about, playing out to play, and everything of mine is like hidden inside.
Does she have an easier time coming than you do? Do you know about her coming life, or?
We're pretty much the same.
Same.
Yeah, we're both.
So really, it doesn't matter. Different looks of vaginas don't necessarily mean that they work any differently.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I love that Homer Simpson vagina. Yeah, so I thought that was really good, and that soothed my soul, because I was like, even if my vagina looks different, I didn't think that it looked that different, honestly, from anything else. I was just like, are all the parts there? So that would eventually lead Emily and Talya to be like, go to your fucking gynecologist, and that was my assignment for that week. But before we got to the assignment, we also had a really good conversation. And the basic point, it comes from this article from The Atlantic, but the basic point is that women, whether they're socialized or it's just like our natural inclination, always put men's pleasure in front of our pain. This is something that Talya said that really resonated.
I think that also a lot of it, like I think that a lot of the issues that come up on this podcast and particularly related to this is like our discomfort, I think both like men and women, with discussing sex in like a very like frank and transparent way.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the times, like I've definitely had painful sex where I've had to like tap out and just be like, you know, like I can't push through. And I'm disappointed. Like I'm frustrated with myself, like, because sex is fun for me. Like I enjoy doing it, and I think that it can definitely like,
you're like, I don't want to dry up here,
right? Like I'm frustrated with myself, and then it's this like also this added like self-consciousness of like, fuck, like I wanted that to be fun for both of us and for you. Like I think I get off knowing that like I'm getting someone off.
Sure.
Like that's a turn on for me, and like I don't like see it necessarily like as a like my obligation, but like I want to get you, like I want to be a great lay. And I think that like the fear or like the self-consciousness of talking about that with your partner is like a big barrier. And I also don't want you to think that like I have some sort of like plagued or like dysfunctional vagina. Like
right.
I don't want you to like hold this against me that like I had to tap out this one time. And I think that like I've definitely said like, you know, it's not you, it's just like my vagina really hurts.
Well, I was going to say, but the reason why you feel that way is because no women ever speak up about their vagina. And so then these men have been conditioned to think that what they don't know is discomfort is like a woman enjoying herself, ? Like they've never had a woman tell them. Like the last guy I had sex with a few weeks ago, and like we were doing it doggy, and he was going way too hard, but like I knew that if he continued for like a little longer, he'd come and it would be over.
Yeah.
And he actually said to me, he was like, "Are you okay? Like, do you like? Is this too much?" And like I just bared it and I was like, no, I'm fine. And like I just let him keep going because in my head I was like, this is easier than me having to explain to him like I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
So I'd rather just take the pain for like 2 more minutes and then go to sleep.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Which I know is wrong. Like I'm not proud of that.
No. It's just something that we do.
I mean, I think that conversation was really good because could we say the word vagina more times? I don't think so. But also it makes men and women to blame in this whole thing because, yeah, men are being too rough, but women aren't necessarily telling them what's wrong. I think why we're not telling them sometimes is because women are scared that men will kind of rape them or beat them or overpower them or get mad at them. We don't want to make anybody mad. But yeah, it kind of makes men and women both to blame because how are men supposed to learn if we're not saying anything? But yeah, I get when women don't want to speak up because men are bigger and they can overpower us. But communication, it came up again. It's a very important thing. This is another thing that we talked about that I thought was really cool.
I think also, like, just to clarify, for me at least, like, don't think that like if a girl doesn't have an orgasm during sex that it should be considered like a failure. Like there are some times where like I just don't have sex during it. It's still fun, and like I've had plenty of times where like I haven't had an orgasm while we're having sex, but then like when he finishes, like immediately he's like either like going down on me or fingering me, like because he's like I'm pretty transparent when I've had an orgasm or not, and so, like, I can have an orgasm afterwards, and that's still, like, an enjoyable sexual experience for me. So, like, I think guys shouldn't feel pressure necessarily that, like, if a girl doesn't come when we're having sex, that, like, I failed or it was bad or whatever. Like, there are other ways to, like, I can have an orgasm before we have sex, after, during, twice, before and after. Like, I've had consecutive. Like, there's no, like, number on it. Just, like, make it fun and make it, like, I think... You want to feel like somebody is invested in your, like, yeah.
Isn't it cool to hear, like, a nurse who's, like, smart as fuck talking in a very cool way? Talya's cool as shit. Here's something else that she said.
And also, foreplay is big. Like, I think a lot of people, like, a lot of guys just, like, when you're there, just try to go right in. Like, foreplay is huge. Like, you need to get the blood circulating to that area. Like, it takes time to get engorged. And, like, yeah, maybe a guy can get erect faster, but I think that like foreplay is huge and can have a dramatic impact on a girl's ability to achieve an orgasm when you're having sex. Like personally, I'm all about the foreplay.
Yeah, I am
like,
too.
I don't need to have intercourse that lasts an hour. I would rather have like 30 minutes of foreplay and have 3-minute sex than the opposite.
So we got into this conversation about Emily works at babe.net, which is the publication that came out with the Aziz Ansari article. So we talk a lot about sexual assault in this episode, and just in general, even if it's not assault, male pleasure versus women's pain, and how often women put their pain aside to please a guy, whether it's in the bedroom or otherwise. So yeah, they told me to go to the gynecologist, and then guess what? I went, and it was great. And she said everything was in working order. And I also went to my psychiatrist because during that conversation, we talk about how SSRIs, which are antidepressants and other anxiety inhibitors, can lower your sex drive. And so I went to her and I asked her if that was the problem. She said no. So then I was just off to the races. And I was on a bunch of podcasts at that time promoting How Come. And one of the podcasts I was on, my friend Will Winters, he recommended a sex toy. And I'm not going to say what, because you're going to have to listen to episode 6 if you want to hear what happened. Episode 6 is when it happened, but episode 5, I had purchased a sex toy, and I was already pretty confident that it was about to happen. So I had my friends David Goldberg, who is the editor of Time Out New York. He does the LGBT events and comedy events and stuff to do around New York City. And he was talking about his own issues of fitting into a mold, and whenever you're labeled something, that's what you have to be. So I will let him explain.
Still just feel like any deviation, any way of seeking my own pleasure outside of like what I was taught when I was 18 would work for me, or what I was supposed to do as like a twink back in the day, is I can't do it.
Do you identify as a twink?
I in my head, I'm an 18-year-old meeting. I'm 27, but in my head, I'm still 18, meeting like 26-year-old guys who are so much older and have their own apartments, and I have to do whatever they say, and like my orgasm or my pleasure doesn't really count for anything.
Right. I really liked hearing a guy say that, just because that's how I felt the whole time, is that like I was doing it for guys' pleasure and stuff instead of my own. And we also discussed in this episode this book that I was reading called For Yourself. It is a very, very good book. I highly recommend it. But yeah, and For Yourself, it's just talking about how you have to have sex for yourself. You're not having sex to please another person. You're doing it. You want to please them during. But yeah, I thought that was cool that David and I shared the same struggles. This is just another funny thing that David was struggling with that I liked and relate to.
It's like, his dick was way too big. This is the other thing I'm struggling with lately, is it's like, yeah, big is good, but like you can't marry big.
Well, I think about that all the time.
Like, yeah. It's like, great, hold on to this. It's such like a feeling of security. Beautiful. Yeah, hey, listen, once in a while, bar mitzvahs, birthdays, fine, but like I am not waking up to that.
Too big. Hurts too bad. I don't know why I love that so much. I just do. Our guests that week were Lola, Jean, and Dominus, Eros, who are sex educators and wellness experts. This is different than anything that I had ever encountered before, and I really wanted to ramp it up this episode because I was like, I know I can do it, so let's fucking push it to the limit. Let's teach me, and like I know I physically can because my gynecologist said so, and so did my therapist. So let's push it. These two, they teach very sexy classes. I will let them explain in this clip.
One of the like examples that I love to give, I don't even know if you were there for that, but I was doing a mini squirt demo at NSFW, and it was like really last minute, like the PR person just asked if I could throw it together.
When you do that, are you using yourself as the demo? Okay,
I like using myself as the demo because, like you were saying, with pictures and this or that, I have like a vulva puppet that I use, but I also like using myself because firstly, it makes me vulnerable first.
Yes.
So it gives other people permission to be vulnerable. But also like, you don't know unless you see that. Like so many girls think that their labias are their clits.
I did. No, I don't know what I thought it was. I just was confused. We had a really cool conversation about consent too, and permission, and how that all comes into play in the world of sex. And then this is how Dominus, Eros, and Lola Jean met. This is their meeting story, because they work together now, but they met once.
We first met actually at House of Yes. I was wearing a dandy little outfit. Do you want to describe the outfit really quick? You saw
I think it was leather and your ass was out.
Yes. It was a nice little leather jockstrap.
He has a really nice butt.
Yeah, I work on it. And just beautifully done. Says, do you mind if I grab your ass?
I think I said you have a very nice ass. Can I touch it?
And then, can I touch it? And purely consented. I was like, yes, I'm wearing this and you may touch it. I want attention. Like that night, I wanted attention. I was going to lie, but I want people to be respectful. Very respectful. I think a lot of the women there were very respectful. Still in the community, gay community, there's a lot of guys who just think it's still permission. Like, oh, you got your ass out, I can just touch it without even asking.
Or like put a finger in it.
Put a finger in it.
I'm
like, number one, you don't have lube on. Do not shove it into my ass. My ass is very tight.
Mm-hmm.
It needs some coaching.
Also, where has that hand been?
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. No, I've actually heard that a lot at gay clubs, that like people just like kind of go for it, and I think we've always thought that like, oh, that's acceptable in gay culture because all gays are like that. Like, no, all humans are like anything. Like, you should ask everyone whether you should do something or not. Like, just don't go up to somebody and hump them. You remember at a bar mitzvah when somebody would come up behind you and hump you, and you'd have to be like, is he cute? Like, just don't do that. Just ask. Be like, hey, can I hump you? And then we'll probably be like, sure. This is one of the classes that Dominus, Eros teaches. I thought this was a really interesting thing.
All hands on deck class today, where everyone's multi-hand massaging, wearing my little captain's hat, my cute little outfit. We're all doing a theme. And
Aaron's classes are more sexual than mine.
Yeah, slightly. That's for the Daddy Retreat stuff. I can get into that when you want to approach that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Daddy Retreat. You could chime in on this. I feel like in a lot of different venues in the gay scene, there's still so much about your presentation, how you look. You have to fit in this beautiful mold of 18 to maybe 40. That's me pushing it.
White.
You have to look a certain way, be sort of fit. The stereotypical male who just works out all the time, does his eyebrows, dresses impeccably, as an interior designer as well as set designer and all these other things, right? And what I've hated about that was talking to a lot of my clientele who most of them are older. and they feel like the party has left, where I'm no longer allowed to come to this place because I will be made to feel like the leper in the corner. The Daddy Retreat was initially geared towards 40-plus-year-olds. However, how I want it is complete inclusivity of everyone. And I understand something. I'm going to get old too.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I not going to start now, create a culture where people feel, I can't tell you how often people come to me and tell you, what you're doing is amazing. I can't believe this actually exists. I feel so welcomed.
Mm-hmm.
There's some guys who will email me prior to coming to class. I'm 40-something years old. I'm overweight. I'm not that good looking. Is it okay if I come to your class?
Mm.
Do you know how heartbreaking that
That's
is for someone to ask for permission to come somewhere because they don't fit this particular mold?
Yeah. Isn't that sad? But it's very cool that he's doing that work and that they're doing that work. I mean, they're literally sexually healing so many people. So yeah, I was like, I'm ready to be sexually healed. What do you got for me? And Lola, I let them give me 2 assignments just because I was like, let's fucking do this. Lola was like, you're going to come to my masturbation class, which essentially I went to, and you watch her masturbate and she teaches you how, and then you do it in a room full of women. I talk about that on episode 6. And then another thing I talk about on episode 6 is my assignment from Dominus Eros, or Aaron is his other name. Aaron offered me a tantric massage, which if you know anything about tantra, it means you're naked and they touch your bits. And I talked about that. I honestly, I felt a little uncomfortable accepting it because I do have a boyfriend, but I asked him if it was cool. He was like, yeah, all in the name of the discovery. And so, yeah, I did that. And I talked about it with Krystyna Hutchinson and Corinne Fisher on episode 6, who are the hosts of the Guys We Fucked podcast. They're amazing. Charlotte also came back and joined us because why? Because before I went to my masturbation class and tantric massage, I actually successfully orgasmed with this thing that Will Winner suggested. Again, I'm not going to tell you what it is. You have to listen to episode 6 or episode 5. I mentioned it that too. But yeah, I did it. And I didn't do it during the orgasm class or during the tantric massage. So you can hear all about that in episode 6. But here is a clip that I loved from Corinne Fisher when she learned about the classes and what I did.
Great that you said that. I also hate vibration. It makes me feel so nauseous.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I just masturbate with my hand, but
look at you. I
don't like stuff.
Wish.
I don't like contraptions on my vagina. No,
Give me
thank
all
you.
the contraptions.
I'll take
hard
it all.
for me sometimes. I get too into my own self of like, I'm not turning me on.
Yeah.
So like,
See, that's the main problem.
Yeah.
Like,
See,
definitely
that's-
turning me on.
Yeah.
Touch
You
my
gotta do
boob.
that.
Like all that
You gotta
stuff. Like
touch the
Yeah,
you
boob.
went to a
Making love
class.
to
It just made me
yourself.
laugh, and
Yeah.
I did that. You went
It's
to.
true,
I could
though.
be making so much fucking money because like you went to a class to have some like lady tell you to touch your own butt, and I was like, I've been doing that for like the decade.
Okay, but it's
like,
not obvious to all of us, Corinne. And
But that's why I'm angry. I'm like fucking so mad. I'm like, I could be a zillionaire by now.
Well, that's the thing. It's been an interesting experience seeing Corinne learn that most people don't talk and most
Yeah.
people don't come. Like
Yeah.
a lot of women like have never.
I understand
that
the
I
don't,
didn't really
the don't
know.
talking, but like the other stuff is like,
It's like, just
or the
do
not
it.
like wanting or like not feeling comfortable touching your own body. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, guys. Corinne, I love you. You are such a confident woman. I hope we can all be confident as you someday. But yeah, I feel like everybody's got body shit. Or if you don't, I mean, lucky you, man. But this was another thing that we discovered in that episode. The best part about episode 6 is Corinne and Krystyna have had their podcast for years together. And I feel like we uncovered a lot of stuff that they didn't even know about each other. Kind of Krystyna's first time coming experiences and her misconceptions about sex and coming and all that stuff. This is one of my favorite things of the entire podcast.
And it took me a while to learn that sex involved insertion. Didn't know that part. That was
what did you
freaky.
think it was?
I didn't know. Rubbing up
Rubbing,
because I was humping
rubbing.
everything. So I
Right,
thought that's
right.
what it was.
Yeah.
That's why I thought I could get pregnant from humping stuffed animals because I was like, any day now, I would like wipe myself when I was a kid. I'm like, is there blood? Because that means there's a baby on the way.
Like any
No.
day now,
I
or,
was
like,
dreading it. I was
any
like,
day
I'm
now.
just, I don't know. Should I kill myself or like, I guess I'll just tell them when I'm pregnant. I guess I'll just let them know. Whatever.
But the
and
threat
I
of
really
being pregnant wasn't
My
enough to
stuffed
stop
horse.
you.
Nope,
to
felt
stop
real
you
good.
From,
Nope, not at all.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yep, you're telling me.
I love that so much. Essentially, she was like essentially she was humping this stuffed animal horse, and she kept thinking she was going to get it pregnant. That is the greatest thing. And now she's a sexpert. So honestly, if you think about episodes 1 through 6, it's like I go from the most like timid, meek, scared person ever to like I fucking got a tantric massage and went to a masturbation class with a bunch of people, and I came. I did it. You guys, there is more summary on part 2 coming. That is going to come on Wednesday because, as I said, I'm in Atlantic City doing some shows right now. It is midnight here. I'm just in my hotel room recapping this for you guys. And then we will do a recap of episodes 7 through 14 because even though I came, there's still a journey to go. Obviously, you got to come with people. You got to do stuff without a device that I have not mentioned yet because we're not going to give them any more free advertising. But yes, you will hear about all that good stuff on part 2. That is going to come out Wednesday of this week. If you guys want to support the podcast even more than you already do, we love you. Go rate us and review us on iTunes. 5 stars, please. Say nice things. And yeah, we are also starting a Patreon account. So if you want to support this podcast, go to Patreon and give us some money and you'll be able to get some extras. There are so many videos that we've taken of these podcasts, outtakes, bloopers. There are videos from me years ago talking about boys and stupid stuff. Subscribe to the Patreon if you want to. If it's up by now, it'll definitely be up by Wednesday. But yeah, Patreon's this great website where you can support podcasters and artists and shit and just like give us money. And then you get extra content. There's so much stuff that I want to put out and that just doesn't fit into these long episodes. And then, yeah, so we're going to recap episodes 7 through 14, as I said. That'll be on Wednesday. And then after Wednesday, next Sunday, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming of a brand new episode. I recorded in LA for 4 weeks, and it is sponsored by our newest sponsor, who I will not tell you until next Sunday. But it's really exciting stuff. I got to interview so many fucking awesome people in LA, and I'm excited to share all of it with you. So yeah, we will see you on Wednesday again for part 2 for the Sum Up Cum Down. And yeah, I love you guys. I'll see you on Wednesday. Bye bye.
It's not you, it's me. I try so hard to finish honestly. They say you'll know when you go all the way from A right down to O. Oh no, I think that I've still got a ways to go. Oh, I'm sick of this and I have got to know. How come I can't achieve? How come I can't achieve? I'm rolling up my sleeves. Oh baby, I believe these guests can help, 'cause I can't do it by myself. I wanna just...
Oh, also on the Patreon, you know how I always say like, oh, I'll post that on the Facebook or I'll post that on the... Nobody looks at the Facebook, so I post it on there sometimes, but like it doesn't get a lot of views. I'm going to post all that stuff on the Patreon. I try to do it on the Instagram, but you guys can always email me, you know, right? Like, I love feedback. You can always DM me on Instagram too. I talk to a lot of you, but I know that there's more out there. So yeah, send me your questions. Send me anything you want. If you're like, Remy, you never posted da-da-da, I'll do it. Just write in. You can, again, DM me at How Come Podcast or at Remy Kassimir, or you can always email us at ourfamousfriends@gmail.com. That is ourfamousfriends@gmail.com. And yeah, we'll answer your questions. We'll even have you on this podcast. Maybe. We'll see. All right. I'll see you guys on Wednesday for the second half of the Sum Up Cum Down. Bye.